Imagine you're alone in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Your boat is sinking beneath you. You're being swallowed by the endless dark waves. No one knows where you are. No phone. No radio. Just you, a 6-foot inflatable raft, and 76 days of pure will to survive. This is the story of Stephen Callahan, a man who faced starvation, dehydration, sharks, and his own mind in a fight to stay alive. Welcome to Forge and Frontier, where today we dive into one of the most amazing survival tales ever told. A story of grit, ingenuity, and the strange, mysterious pull of the sea. Stick around, because this one will leave you questioning what it really takes to survive. Stephen Callahan wasn't just any sailor. Born in 1952, he was a naval architect, inventor, and adventurer who lived for the sea. By his late 20s, he had designed and built his own 21-foot boat, which he named the Napoleon Solo, a vessel he poured his heart into. Inspired by his childhood hero, Robert Manry, who sailed solo across the Atlantic, Callahan dreamed of conquering the ocean alone. In 1981, Callahan set out from Rhode Island to England, crossing the Atlantic successfully. However, he was with his friend. It was his return journey in 1982, sailing solo from the Canary Islands to Antigua, which would test Stephen in ways he never imagined. The sea, as it turns out, has a dark side, one that does not care about your dreams or skills. On the night of February 4th, 1982, just 6 days into his journey, Callahan was asleep in the Napoleon Solo's cabin when boom! A deafening crash jolted him awake. Water roared in, flooding the boat in seconds. When Stephen looks back on his account of what happened, he later believes either a whale or large shark had smashed into the hull, tearing a gaping hole. We will never know what caused the boat to sink, but what we do know is that in that moment, Stephen's dream was being swallowed by the Atlantic, with waves crashing over the deck and the boat sinking fast. Callahan had moments to act. He scrambled to inflate his 6-foot Avon life raft and dove into the flooding cabin. Not once, but multiple times to grab whatever he could. Picture it. Diving into the dark, water-filled sinking tomb, knowing each second could be your last. That night, the Atlantic claimed the Napoleon Solo, and Callahan was left alone, adrift, with nothing but a raft and the endless, unforgiving sea. For 76 days, Stephen Callahan lived what he called an aquatic caveman existence. The ocean was both his prison and his lifeline. Starvation loomed as his meager food supplies, which included some peanuts, raisins, eggs, corned beef, those were dwindling within weeks. Dehydration was a constant threat. His 3 solar stills, meant to purify seawater, were finicky, producing just a pint or 2 of water a day when they did work. He had cut one part out to fix the others, a desperate act of ingenuity. Sharks circled his raft, bumping it at night, their fins slicing through the water like silent predators. Sleep was a luxury. Every creak of the raft, every splash, could mean certain disaster. But it was not just the physical toll. The isolation was maddening. Callahan described his life flashing before his eyes like a bad movie, regretting every mistake, every failure. He kept a log of scraps of paper, sketching to stay sane. But the sea tested his mind as much as his body. Barnacles grew on his raft, attracting fish called his doggies, which were Dorado fish that became both food and strange companions. Yet, even these moments of connection felt eerie, like the ocean was toying with him. He saw 9 ships pass, and he was firing flares at each one. However, they all went unseen. Each one was a gut punch of hope slipping away. Callahan once wrote, "I had a view of heaven from a seat in hell," capturing the surreal beauty and terror of his drift. The stars above, breathtaking, but below, the abyss awaited. Callahan's survival hinged on a handful of items he had salvaged from the Napoleon Solo before it sank. Let's break down the gear that kept him alive. First, he had an Avon 6-man raft. This 6-foot inflatable raft was his home for 76 days. It leaked, it tore, and he patched it daily, but it held. He had 3 solar stills. These balloon-like devices purified seawater, though they often broke. Callahan's ability to repair them was a game changer, giving him just enough water to survive. Callahan also had a spear gun, which was very small, almost like a toy, but it kept him alive where he was able to use to spear gun the Dorado fish and even triggerfish. The fish, however, later on in his journey, learned how to dodge this, making Callahan have to adjust to catch these fish. Callahan had a Tupperware box, which inside included pencils, paper, a pocket knife, some fishing hooks, fishing line. He used the box to build an evaporation chamber for extra water and pencils to craft a crude sextant for navigation. Callahan was able to recover a sleeping bag and a cushion. These kept him warm and slightly comfortable in the damp, cramped craft. Flares and navigation charts were also recovered from the Napoleon Solo's cabin. These flares failed to attract ships, but the charts and his makeshift sextant helped him track his drift toward the Caribbean. Lastly, Callahan recovered the Sea Survival Manual, a book by Douglas Robertson, another survivor with his guide, like a sacred text for survival. What is incredible is how Callahan turned these scraps into a system. He prioritized tasks, pumping the raft, fixing stills, creating a routine to keep his mind sharp. His story shows that survival is not about the gear, it's about the will to make it work. After 76 days and 1,800 nautical miles, salvation came not from a ship, but from Mother Nature itself. On April 20th, 1982, birds began circling Callahan's raft. Drawn to the fish and barnacles below, fishermen near Marie Galante, a small Caribbean island, followed these birds, expecting to find a school of fish. Instead, they found Callahan, emaciated, 40 pounds lighter, but alive. They ask, "What are you doing out here?" For Callahan, it was like being reborn. The tension of balancing on a knife's edge for months lifted, and the world's colors and smells overwhelmed him. Callahan went on to write Adrift, 76 Days Lost at Sea, a New York Times bestseller that's inspired countless readers. He consulted on the movie Life of Pi, helping director Ang Lee make the ocean a character in itself. Today, at 73, Callahan lives in Maine, still sailing, still designing boats, and sharing his story. His ordeal wasn't just about surviving. It was about finding connection with the natural world, even in its darkest moments. Stephen Callahan's story is more than a tale of survival. It's a journey into the unknown, where the line between life and death blurs. The ocean tested him, broke him, and rebuilt him. It's a reminder that survival isn't just about the gear or skills. It's about the fire inside you, the will to keep going when the world feels like it's against you. Here at Forge and Frontier, we are all about forging your own path, even in its darkest storms. What would you do if you were adrift with nothing but your wits and a few tools? Let me know in the comments, and if you want more stories of grit and mystery, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Until next time, stay strong and keep exploring the frontier.